Good morning, my friends out there in the Facebook, YouTube, online world. Welcome to today's training. Today we're going to dive a little bit more into discovering the real you, feeling like you don't matter. Let's connect to the real value. So we're going to be touching again on innate value, what it is, how we can work with this sense of being irrelevant, being having no matter, having no sense of importance in our world. And we're going to talk about where that comes from and how we address it. So if you're new to me, I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover their well-being and their happiness after narcissistic abuse. And I help them accomplish that by helping them restore their safety, their sanity, and their self so that they can come to know, love, and live who they are and create happy, sustainable relationships in their lives. So before we get started, I need to share this out to the community. The community is your safe haven here on the internet. The link is above for the community and below, above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It sounds like a computer rebooted in the background there, so that's fun. Yeah, I'm fixing one. That was my past life computer work. So today I'm fixing that. Boom, boom, boom. All right. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you guys for your support, for your comments, for letting me know how my work is impacting your world. So that matters to me. That's the whole point of doing this, is to create change, because these are things that I've discovered and I've worked through in my own world and want to contribute to your journey so you can find your own well-being, your own happiness after narcissistic abuse and codependency. Okay, so feeling like you don't matter. This is extremely common, and this is a direct result of something called transactional value. If you've been following me for a while, this is a term you've heard before. If you're a student of mine, you've heard this a lot. Transactional value is where we are valued for what we do and what it makes the other person feel. So we're valued when we do something that someone else likes. That's it. It's transactional. They like it. We did it. They like it. Boom. That gives us a sense of value. This is where we get hooked on approval. This is where we get hooked on chasing approval. This is also where we experience like we don't matter. It's one of the things that I've wrestled with throughout my life is a sense of being replaceable, being irrelevant, and that there's always someone else who can do it better and they'll just choose them. And this has to do with transactional value. And it has to do with an internalized sense of irrelevance. Like, I don't matter. I have nothing to bring to this table. And that comes from being excluded, being rejected, someone else doing something better and people choosing and favoring that individual. And this happens to us a lot, especially if we grow up in cultures, we grow up in a family system where we are not valued for who we are, we're not celebrated and encouraged to be ourselves, we're not protected in our experience of discovering who we are. Instead, we are valued for how we make the parent feel or the authority feel. We're valued for pleasing someone, but not necessarily valued and enjoyed because we exist in their world. They're not joyful that we're in their lives, they're joyful because of what we do for them, what benefit we bring them. And this is where this really comes from. We have been strongly and deeply neglected in being valued for who we are, being seen for who we are, being acknowledged in that, being witnessed in it, and being given love and care, support, and celebration for who we are, not just what we do. So I want to, hey Pam. Yes, there we go. Yes, I'm glad this is on target for you. Let's see what it does for you. So we when we're in codependency, we live with something called external orientation, meaning we seek our value, our sense of self, our meaningfulness, our relevancy through the eyes of others. Their responses to us determine how we feel about ourselves. They define our sense of worth, our sense of meaningfulness, our sense of importance or relevance in the world. We let them dictate these things, and that gets us into a really big trap. Because now when they don't like us or they leave us or reject us, we lose complete contact to that. We lose this sun that we orbit. Now we don't know what to do. We don't know where our value is. Instead we collapse into what our baseline is, which is typically shame, irrelevancy, self-hate, emptiness, either some self-loathing, self-rejection, because we're not lovable or wantable if no one's choosing us. Now, being chosen is a big deal, especially when we're children. Being chosen matters to us quite a bit because it's a validation of what we see as worth at that point. And one of our big challenges in life is to grow out of transactional value, grow out of being chosen, and grow into being ourselves, and then creating connection instead. Because being chosen is, I approve of you, you can come here and do this thing. It's typically transactional. But connection's about, I see you, I care about you, I value you as you are. You matter to me, and I am grateful you exist. That's real value. Real value is, I appreciate that I am me. That's it. I don't have to do a thing, have a thing, or be a thing. It's more like, I get to exist, and I'm grateful that I get to exist as the person I am. That's valuing me. Others valuing me in that respect would be like, I'm grateful you exist. I'm grateful you're in my life. Because I have an appreciation and an affection, a love for who I am. I have a love and affection and appreciation for who I am. And then I return that because I have a love and appreciation and an affection for who they are. I'm grateful they get to be here in my world. I'm grateful that I have the privilege of connecting with them. I'm grateful I have a privilege to connect with you, with my students, with myself, with life. That's what real love's about. It's valuing the person, not the benefit. And this is how we exit this paralyzing world of feeling like we don't matter. Because it's feeling like we don't matter is a product of being neglected, being unseen, unvalued, unloved by others. It's a product of being used for what we provide rather than being celebrated for simply being present in their world. And so part of discovering ourselves is discovering the relationship to our own value. When we're really connected to what I call innate value, which is this inherent worth within us. When we have to choose this is something that we have to make a decision that exists within us. And that's when we start to discover it. It's a paradox that way. Because we start to feel like I choose to see myself as worthy of love, and I choose to love and appreciate myself just as I am. When I do that, I start to feel into my sense of innate value, which typically, somatically, the way it feels in my body is joy. It brings alive a peace and a joy and a clarity within me. Now, it didn't do this initially. I had to cultivate this. I had to earn my own trust that I wasn't just feeding myself a line. I had to demonstrate to myself by being consistent with caring for myself, responding with empathy to my pain, valuing my pain, giving my pain legitimacy, and even giving it respect and treating it with value and importance and priority. That's what proved to myself that I love me. Because a lot of times where we're really seeking to be loved is in our pain, in our difficulty, in our fear, in our sense of inadequacies, or in our insecurities. When we can bring love to that space and say, I receive you and I love you just as you are here too. That's when we really start to feel the love. That's when we really start to connect with this innate value. Because when we value our pain, we value our struggles, we are respecting and loving ourselves. It's not always comfortable. We've got shame that shows up. We've got guilt that shows up. We've got programmed rejections and responses to ourselves that are mean and unkind. And we can bring the way we respond to those again is by inviting them in and saying, I understand that this is my story. This is what I've been through. This is how I've been treated. When I find a part of myself that feels shameful, I've come to understand that this is a part that's been shamed, not just by me, but by others that I was attached to or bonded with, or that I had respect for, or that I would want more connection or approval from at that point in time. And so their shaming of the thing is what I then did to myself. I also shamed it. And so I can move that relationship, that emotional association of shame with the thingy, to love by going, I understand. And I welcome you in anyway, because I love you. I love the part that's being shamed, and I love the parts that is doing the shaming. I receive both and allow them to both have space. Because the shame isn't true. It's not reality. It's just the act one part of myself is doing to another. And I can love both parts. And then I can open up to a question of, what if this wasn't shameful? What if it's not actually shameful? What if it's what I've been taught to be shameful? And then I can also share that shameful thing with others and see how they receive it warmly and kindly. That helps us move through shame profoundly quickly. So shame is healed in relationship to ourself and relationship to other. So those are some approaches to that. But ultimately, connecting to real value, real love, is based in receiving ourselves in love regardless of where we're at. So it's not about judgment. It's not about condemnation. It's not about shoulds and musts and have-tos, or I'm not enoughs, or I'm stupid, things like that. It's more like, here I am. This is what I'm living through right now. Can I have a little compassion on myself for my pain, for my struggle, for my limitations? Can I appreciate and value my pain and give it some respect? This is where real love starts to land. And real love expands from there into, can I love and appreciate my goodness, what I bring into the world, what I do well, what I want, what I don't want? Can I praise and appreciate how I express things, the way I do things, even though it's different than other people and some people won't like it? Can I still praise and appreciate it anyway? Can I differentiate my value from their approval and rejection? Can I love myself despite approval and rejection? Because approval and rejection is a big trap. Somebody else is saying, yeah, you're right. I like what you do. Cool. It's irrelevant. Can I really move towards accepting myself despite what other people say and do? Real love. This is where it's at. And it is a challenge. It is a practice. It's a lifestyle. This is how we exit feeling like we don't matter. Because then we treat ourselves with value, importance, respect, and priority. Because now that's how we treat ourselves with mattering. That's how we acknowledge that I matter. I no longer am dependent on someone else for my sense of being, of mattering in general. Now, if we're going through a breakup, we've lost a relationship, something has ended or failed, sometimes we're going to feel like we didn't matter to that person. And that's important. There's a clarity here. Feeling like I don't matter is different than feeling I didn't matter, like, did I matter to that person? And there's a caveat here. Okay, we'll talk about that here in a sec. But I want to differentiate between those two things, because generally, if I feel like I just don't matter, period, I've got a very internalized sense of irrelevance, shame, and that tells me that I've been unloved, unseen, unvalued for who I am. Now, if I'm going through a breakup or something and I feel like did I matter to them? That's a common, understandable question for a breakup, because we're trying to reconcile their behavior with their claims And sometimes in breakups, it feels like we didn't matter to them, or if we did, it wouldn't have ended. And there can be some legitimacy to that, depending on what the context is. And sometimes relationships end not because you didn't matter to them, but because you two don't work. There's an incompatibility there. So there's some real context and nuance there. But there's a caveat that tends to happen for us in this. Sometimes we go from, did I matter to them, to, do I matter at all? We have to be careful about that transition, because if we make that transition, we are abandoning ourselves. We are not responding to ourselves with care, with love, with consideration. So we need to be mindful of that and move back to, I didn't matter to that person, but I matter, period. I matter to me first. And then I can identify other people with whom value me and appreciate me as I am. That's where we want to go. We don't want to throw ourselves out that way. So, yes. All right. So this concept of value and growing this out, expanding this, starts in the Heal Yourself strategy. We start that in the sovereignty section, and then I grow it and expand it through the Know Yourself strategy, which is early bird enrollment is open for the Know Yourself strategy in the live classes that start this August 17th, which is a Tuesday. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And this is where you're going to learn how to know, love, and live who you are. That's going to allow you to tap into your value, live from that value, make choices from that value that end up or create the results of more happiness, more clarity, and more satisfaction in your world. Now, at this in early bird enrollment, you also get access to my new course that'll open up here in September called Relationship Essentials, where I teach you how to create connection, comprehension, and satisfaction by establishing secure attachment in your relationships, communication that leads to comprehension, and conflict that is both safe and generates intimacy. So you get that included with this early bird enrollment. So you can check that out again above. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Enrollment closes in 6 days, so jump on that. Okay. So there you go, guys. Go out there, play with this idea of loving yourself despite what other people do. Despite what other people feel about you. Explore and open up to the question, well, what would it be like if I loved and accepted myself just as I am today? And I'll say it again. What would it be like if I loved myself and accepted myself just as I am today? That's it. Explore it. See what you learn. See what you discover about yourself there. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate you. Remember that you're worthy, that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I'll see you guys in our next training video.